Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is Erik Ten Hag's press conference and it feels like a while since there has been an Erik Ten Hag press conference. Finally, football is back and it's back in the form of the FA Cup. Also, there was some absolutely mind-blowing news coming out this morning. I know Mark covered it on the morning show and that's football, but Klopp leaving Liverpool, honestly, I don't think I've been that shocked by anything in a very long time. It took me back to the old days of transfers when you just sit on Sky Sports and you'd be like, what is going on? That's what it was like when that Jurgen Klopp news broke. It was absolutely crazy. But it is the Manchester United versus Newport County Erik Ten Hag press conference. And Erik Ten Hag, he came out, he seemed a little bit on edge, he seemed a little bit spiky, but we got some good answers in there regarding what is going to go on at Manchester United in this January transfer window. Confirmation that Manchester United will be signing no one by the end of the January transfer window, and Erik Ten Hag did seem not very happy about that. Obviously, you can only kind of read body language, but he just seemed like he tried to find every solution, but financial fair play would not allow it. So he gets no striker in January, no players are coming in. What do you think about that? And also confirmed that Altay Bayindir will be starting in goal on Sunday, finally, and he's confident in him and it's his opportunity. So that'll be interesting to kind of get into that discussion, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited to see him. I just hope that Newport actually give us a bit of a game and we get to see him in action. I still want to win the game, obviously, and I want us to win the game comfortably, but I'd like to see him get a little bit of action going. But welcome everybody to the United Stand. Let's get going on this Erik Ten Hag press conference. So it starts off obviously with the huge news of Klopp resigning, and not only is Klopp resigning, by the way, everyone's going with him. The directors go in, all of his coaching staff are going. To me, I feel like thinking, like, have they fallen out with FSG? Like, I doubt it, but everyone is leaving Liverpool. Not quite literally everyone, but there's a big chunk of important people at Liverpool going. And I said earlier on, how hilarious would it be if this year they got to the final end of the season and they missed out on the title by 1 point or on goal difference or something? I would absolutely love it. I would be there. Obviously, in regards to Jurgen Klopp, is an exceptional manager, one of the Premier League greats. I hate to say it because it was at Liverpool, but he's been an exceptional manager and he's a world-class manager that is leaving the Premier League. But as a Man United fan, you can't help but be happy about that. Anyway, guys, let's get on with the Erik Ten Hag's press conference because we are on the United Stand. I've even got my Erik Ten Hag look on. I've got the grey roll neck. Erik Ten Hag loves the grey roll neck. I'm kind of suiting the occasion. So, Ten Hag on Klopp resigning. He said it's not good for the Premier League. He has made an era there. He built the club. He brought the club back to where they belong. So congratulations on that. He has done an amazing job on Liverpool. And that's absolutely true. Everything that Erik Ten Hag said there is true. And that's why, as a United fan, I'm happy that he's going. You know, he brought Liverpool back to life. He put them back to the top. I'm waiting for a manager to come into Manchester United and do that for us. I hope Ten Hag can be that guy. Ten Hag was the guy himself that said eras come to an end. And look, guys, you know, Jurgen Klopp's leaving at the end of this season. That has been confirmed. Pep Guardiola's going into his final year of his contract. Things could be changing in the Premier League, and we have to capitalise on that. Whether Erik Ten Hag can be the man to take us forward, I'm still not too sure. We'll have to wait and see how he goes throughout this season and see how he builds up. But we need to capitalise on the fact that there's going to be a big shift in the Premier League, and there's going to be an opportunity to take one of the top spots. Pep isn't said he's going to leave City, but I'm sure he won't be far behind Klopp. And that'll be a huge loss. Jurgen Klopp, there's people talking about Xavi Alonso coming in, who's doing it brilliantly at Leverkusen. But you don't just replace Jurgen Klopp overnight. And all of his team as well and the director. It's going to be a shift and there's an opportunity for a team to pounce. Arsenal will be looking at it. Man United should be looking at it. All the teams around it will be looking at it. We need to make sure that we're in that situation to be able to pounce on that. At the moment, we're nowhere near it. And with a lot of clubs going into the pool for a new manager in the summer, Manchester United are going to have to kind of be watching their options because Erik Ten Hag, till the end of the season, let's see how he does. But I'm sure if the results continue, there's going to be big question marks. But he then talks about Altay Bayindir. So Bayindir will start. I was worried for a second it was going to be Heaton. And I like Heaton. I think Heaton's a good goalkeeper. But I was worried that maybe he wouldn't throw Altay Bayindir in. He seems so reluctant to play him so far. But Bayindir is going to start. Erik Ten Hag has confirmed that. He tried to stop by for a little interview with me outside Old Trafford yesterday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do so. I didn't realise. But yeah, Bayindir will be starting in goal for Manchester United against Newport County. And Ten Hag says he will be in the goal. So what we can expect for him, he waits for his chance, but he's experienced. He played for a big club in Turkey under pressure. He knows how to deal with it. We are convinced. So we are looking forward to Sunday. Altay is waiting for this moment, and this is his moment. That line at the end there, he's waiting for this moment, and this is his moment. Well, I mean, I might be clutching at absolute straws here, but does that kind of translate to it's his moment? If he makes a good impression and he plays well, he could keep that spot, like potentially. Like reading between the lines, obviously, I highly doubt that will happen. But to be honest with you, if he has a good game, why should he not continue? Especially considering the fact that Onana hasn't been good. And you know, I was championing Onana in the summer when he came in, but I'm an honest person. I'm not just going to blindly say someone's been good when they've not. Onana's not been good. So if Bayindir has a good game, could that set him up to kind of continue if this is his moment to kind of have his chance at clutching that #1 spot for the up and coming games to come? And it depends obviously how far Cameroon get in the competition as well, but that'll be interesting. I can see there being a massive debate within the fan base about this. The fan base is going to go, if Bayindir has a good game against Newport, and then even if he continues into, you can't really judge it. Newport are in League Two. Like realistically, we need to be judging it against an opposition that's going to give us a game. That's why I would like Altay Bayindir to continue into the Wolves game, and I would like Cameroon to continue throughout the competition. One, because I think it's good for Onana to get away from United at the moment, and you know, his national team, I want him to do well as a United player. I want his national team to do well. But two, we get to see Bayindir in a Premier League setting, and Wolves will give us shots. They will take the game to us, especially at the Molineux. I want to see how Bayindir deals with that before I properly judge him. But then if he does well there, I think there's going to be a huge debate within the fan base, because I know so many people are already kind of turning on Onana, and loads of people want to see Bayindir, and even though they've never watched him play for Fenerbahce ever. And I'm just kind of on the fence about it, because there's a way that it could go here. When it comes, Onana hasn't been good enough. Like, I've been open and honest about that. And for Cameroon, he's had a couple mistakes as well. But there's so much pressure on you and kind of focusing in on you and clipping you up when you're a Manchester United keeper. Like, of course there is. But despite that, he's just not been good enough. But then if Onana comes in, and not Onana, if Bayindir comes in and also he's poor, we're in a situation where we've got two keepers that aren't doing well and are low on confidence, and that's going to be an issue. So I hope Bayindir comes in and hits the ground running. I hope he does really well. I've not seen a full game of his ever for Fenerbahce, not one that I can recall that I was focusing purely on him. So I'm interested to kind of see what he's like and see what he does. You know, I'm very particular on my goalkeepers, guys, so I'm going to be excited to see what he can bring to the party. And he got asked about him quite a bit, Ten Hag, and he seemed very protective of him. And don't forget this, guys. Don't forget the fact that when Onana initially left Ajax, when Erik Ten Hag was at Ajax, when Onana left, Ajax were linked to Bayindir multiple times. I can pull up the newspaper articles. Ten Hag wanted Bayindir at Ajax. Ten Hag has liked Bayindir for a long time. So this isn't someone that Ten Hag didn't want. Ten Hag likes Bayindir. So if Bayindir does well, who knows what could happen. And I think it was Simon Stone that asked him in the press conference, if I could remember the voice correctly, will he be able to deal with the pressure? Obviously, it is Newport and they are a League Two side, but this game's going to be everything to them. It's Manchester United coming to Newport County in the FA Cup. The magic of the FA Cup, we all know what it is. Smaller teams, when they come up against bigger teams, surprises can happen. The atmosphere is hostile. Like, it's one of the best games for them that they'll ever kind of go into. So he says, can he deal with that? And Ten Hag kind of jokes back. He says, have you ever been to Fenerbahce? As in, Fenerbahce, the pressure in Turkey is great as well. He's absolutely fine. He can deal with that. And for his national team, he's absolutely fine. He can deal with that as well. So interesting stuff from Ten Hag. He seemed to quite protect him, and he seemed to, you know, really kind of back him, which he does with the majority of his players. A classic Ten Hag phrase. We should get a T-shirt. I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced that. He loves that line, and he says he's convinced of Altay Bayindir. So yeah, let me have a look at some of your super chats coming in. Akash Paul says, I hope Slippy G gets a Liverpool job. This is the thing, if Klopp would have gone like 2 years ago, Gerrard probably would have got the job. Now Gerrard's obviously going to be nowhere near it. I'd absolutely love it. But I don't even think he's doing a good job at El Attifaq in Saudi Arabia. If I was looking at the Saudi Pro League the other day, and El Attifaq aren't even doing very well. And the fact he was in the relegation zone with that Villa team, and look at what Unai Emery's been able to do with it. Absolutely crazy. Like, it just shows no matter how good of a football player you are, doesn't make you a good manager. So yeah, I would have loved Steven Gerrard to get the job, but I personally think it's set up perfectly for Xabi Alonso, who I do rate and he's doing an excellent job at Leverkusen. But Xabi Alonso doesn't just come in and fill Klopp's shoes. Klopp is obviously one of the Premier League's greatest managers, and it'll be a big hole to replace. Runt McCormack says, for him to have a good game, we have to be awful. I don't think so. I don't think that happens. Obviously, Newport, you expect us to dominate, of course. And again, that's why I want us to carry on with Bayindir into the Wolves game, because then we can give him a proper test. Millie says, only Burnley have more losses in the top 5 leagues than us. Is that true? Is that true? Surely not. Surely not. Is that a true stat? And that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm getting my producer on that, because if that's true, that just shows exactly where we're at. You guys, apparently I'm pronouncing El Attifaq wrong. I don't think I am, but maybe it's just my accent. You know, people have different accents, everybody. People have different accents. And then he talks about Bayindir with the pressure and the Turkey situation. I've spoke about that. And then he kind of gets asked about the pressure of the FA Cup and going to the smaller league sides. Obviously, last year in the Cups, we just had home game after home game after home game at Old Trafford. And he gets asked about, you know, how does he deal with the smaller league teams going to their stadiums. And I don't know if Erik Ten Hag took it in a little bit of a way of like a slightly patronising question, because he kind of hit back and he was like, well, we also have the Cups in the Netherlands, and I've also gone to small teams in the Netherlands, and I've had that experience. He says he knows exactly what the pressure's like. He knows how to deal with it. He knows how to approach it. He seemed very, very confident. And I'm not being funny. We should be confident. It's League Two. No disrespect to Newport County. I know there's a few Newport County fans that was watching the United Stand the other day on Mark's stream when I was looking it in. But it's Newport County at the end of the day. Like, at League Two, we should be winning this game, and you should be prepared to win it. And the fact that I'm not 100% certain that we will win it shows exactly where we're at the moment. Then he kind of talk about the striker situation with Anthony Martial. Erik Ten Hag confirms that Manchester United will not enter the market to sign another striker, despite Anthony Martial being out for 10 weeks. Ten Hag says, I looked, but there is no space. There is no space for financial fair play to do something about the lack of quantity in the striker position. Of course, Rashford can play a striker. We have some other alternatives, and it's clear that Anthony Martial, is out for a couple of months. It's a gap in our squad, clear. So Ten Hag admits the facts that they have a gap in the squad. He agrees with the fact that having only Højlund and Rashford isn't enough depth as a striker. He says he's looked within the market. He was obviously trying to get Manchester United to do something. He was absolutely pushing for a striker, as any manager should, and he has been told that Manchester United cannot do it due to financial fair play. Obviously, he's going to have to be okay with this, but I think as a manager, he's going to be frustrated. And that, again, comes down to lack of planning. To not have any money left to spare in January whatsoever, just in case, is a failure on the club's behalf. It really is. You have to go into a January transfer window with a mind. I think personally, the perfect mindset when it comes to doing transfer business, and obviously I'm no expert, I'm no Omar Barada over here, as you guys would know, but I think the perfect way that you go into the transfer market is a club that is successful and wanting to be successful is you start planning your summer business basically around this time. And you completely plan your summer business. That's the majority of your business. You address outgoings, you address, you know, people that you want to make money for. You talk to them in the earlier months, you plan it. Like, for example, if Manchester United want to move on Wan-Bissaka in the summer, I would be speaking to him very soon and saying, look, Aaron, we think that we should move you on in the summer. Like, you're not part of our plans. Like, let's find you a good club. Harry Maguire should be spoken to now if that's a direction that Man United want to go into. Harry, unfortunately, you're not part of Erik Ten Hag's plans for the future. We wish you all the best. We'll work to get a deal that suits you, etc. You start doing that early. You don't do it just when it gets to the summer. So you know where your outgoings are. You know realistically how much money you're going to have coming in. You have the positions you want to go for in the summer lined up. You spoke to players' agents. You've got options A, B and C. You're looking at the price range. You're looking at the style of play. You've done all your background work, and you do the majority of your summer transfer business. Sorry, the majority of the important transfer business in the summer. And you should be going into that season thinking our squad is in the perfect condition to carry out this season, to what we could do this summer. This is where we're at, and we're in a very good position going into the season. And currently where we're at now, we probably won't need anything in January. But what we are going to do, because we know things happen throughout a season, we know players get injured, we know, sometimes there's manager fallouts, there's all different sort of circumstances that can happen. Players can underperform. We're going to have this pool of money that's there for January if we need it. If we don't need any reinforcements in January, we won't spend for no reason. But if we need something, it's there as an emergency, because we can't afford to kind of write off our season in January. Because could you imagine, obviously we're not in this position, but could you imagine now Erik Ten Hag somehow had got himself into a title race and we needed a striker or we needed a midfielder to kind of get us over the line and there was just no money left? Like, we're in a position where our season's basically written off. We've not got a chance of getting top four, even if we did get a striker in. Like, let's be honest, with all the teams in and around us and how poor we've been, if that continues, we've got no chance of getting top four. The FA Cup's the only thing we're fighting for, but God forbid we were actually competing and we had nothing to kind of help us get over the line or push us. That's poor planning. There has to be a pool of money there just in case you need something. Martial is out now. He probably won't play another game for Manchester United. I'd be surprised if he did. Højlund is literally your only striker and he's 20 years old and adjusting to the league. If he gets injured, you've got Rashford playing up front, who, let's be honest, Rashford isn't a centre forward. He's said himself he prefers playing on the left wing and he's not a centre forward. And then, God forbid something happens to both of them, which I don't think will happen, touch wood, you're left with what? Playing Bruno as a false nine? There's nowhere near enough depth in that striker department. And I think we're okay with it because we know INEOS are coming in and we know that the plans and the strategies regarding recruitment are going to change in the summer. Omar Barada's coming in. We're going to have a new sporting director. We're going to have a new head of recruitment. The staff's being turned over. There's going to be a whole new philosophy that Manchester United are going to follow. And I think that's why fans are kind of accepting it. And I said to myself, because of the situation we're in right now, the situation is we're not fighting for top four, I don't think. Please prove me wrong. We've only really got the FA Cup to play for. I would probably rather save all the money we have into investing into the summer project when we've got people in that actually know what we're doing and are working in cohesion, like Omar Barada and whoever comes in, whether it's Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, etc. And in a way, I'm saying what INEOS is doing in not spending any money this January is right, is what I would have done. But the fact that Erik Ten Hag obviously has wanted a striker and the reason we can't get one in is because of financial fair play, just shows a really poor bit of planning on Manchester United's behalf, because in the summer, who knows where Man United would have been at this stage. And if we really desperately needed that money, we wouldn't have been able to use it. You have to have something there, just in case. Loan a centre forward, but I mean, we talk about loaning, but who's really on offer to loan and that isn't going to cost us money? I know everyone will scream and shout Benzema, but Benzema's going to cost you extreme amounts in wages. That goes towards financial fair play. You talk about Choupo-Moting, is that realistically the route we really want to go down? I mean, is it something's better than nothing? What would the loan cost that Bayern Munich would ask? Ten Hag's obviously looked around every corner. I mean, I bet Ten Hag probably went to Sir Jim and Dave Brailsford and was like, look, worst comes to worst, let's get Weggy back in. Let's get Weghorst back in. And Dave Brailsford and Sir Jim said, look, we're not John Murtough. We're not Richard Arnold. We're not what you've been used to. That ain't happening under us. That ain't happening under us, Eric. But no, Ten Hag clearly did want a striker. I know he's really wanted Broby from Ajax, another name that I'll probably say wrong, Brian Broby from Ajax, Brian Broby from Ajax, which obviously is someone that is just not up for sale in January whatsoever. Whether we go back in for that in the summer is another story, but there was no way we were spending any sort of fee on a striker. We were looking at loans. We've decided to go against it, even though Martial's out for 10 weeks. We were actually told towards the start of the January transfer window, if they managed to get Martial out in January, if they managed to get him on a transfer, then we were going to bring somebody in. But the fact that Martial's staying through injury, there's no budget. There's absolutely no budget whatsoever. And again, I've always liked Martial, but how strange is it that in the summer he couldn't get sold because he was injured for the majority of it, and then as soon as the January transfer window rolls around, suddenly he needs groin surgery and he's injured again. He was ill for the first part of it, now he needs groin surgery and he's injured. To me, it just looks like you want to keep going on 250 grand a week, to be honest. And you know, we can do that, but that's just the way it looks. So yeah, Erik Ten Hag just didn't seem too happy with that, but obviously it's a situation that we're in, and we have to deal with it. Ten Hag, he got asked about FA Cup being the last trophy of the season that Manchester United can fight for. He said, it's the truth, but the league, the qualification for Champions League. FA Cup is, as you say, probably is a fact, last opportunity on the trophy, and we go for it. So with this, obviously sometimes I don't think Erik Ten Hag's English is the most straightforward. Obviously he can speak English well, but it's just sometimes you kind of have to read between the lines. He got asked of it being the last opportunity for a trophy, and then he mentions Champions League. Champions League isn't a trophy, but it'd feel like a trophy to Manchester United this season because of how poor we've been and how low the standards have dropped. And the hope I had going into the start of the season, I'm not going to lie, off the back of that transfer window, and this is why I've said so many times, I've said it so many times, I am never going to get excited off the back of a transfer window ever again, because I've been fooled too many times. When we brought in Sancho, Ronaldo and Varane, I think I predicted we were going to win the league stupidly. I was in my naive era at that point, really naive era. And I think I was just kind of feeling it on one of the shows from home. Maybe, I don't know, someone might have spiked my drink that time, but honestly, I was excited. I was so excited. I remember at the time I was working at H&M and I saw the Ronaldo notification come through on my phone when I was kind of just, you know, when you nip to the toilet on your break and you kind of have a quick check of your phone. And I saw it come through and I genuinely could not believe it. It's one of the most shocked I've ever been that Ronaldo kind of, here we go for Manchester United. And I thought, genuinely, we have such a good chance now. And that season just ended up being one of the worst, one of the worst seasons. And then, I mean, Ollie ended up getting sacked, and then Rangnick came in. Like, it was just terrible. And then this summer, when we got Onana, we got Højlund, we got Mount, and I did go into the season thinking, you know, there still is gaps. I still would like to address the right back. I still think we need another midfielder and we probably need another striker. But I thought, you know, I think we've recruited well, and this shows how much I know. I think we've recruited well. Erik Ten Hag, you know, he managed to get third last year. We got a trophy. We weren't playing the best football, but we'd seen improvements. We're going to take this into this season, and I didn't think we'd win the league, but I thought we'd be able to compete with Arsenal for maybe second. I genuinely thought that, and it's embarrassing to think now. And this season's just been terrible. So I'm never getting excited off the back of a transfer window again. It's just not happening for me. But Champions League this year, when Ten Hag talks about in that conversation saying FA Cup's the last chance, it is the last chance, but Champions League's huge, because when you look at the summer transfer window, all players now, like top quality players, they want to play in the Champions League. That's the ambition. If we don't have it, it limits us massively when you're competing for players. There's obviously other routes you can take. This is where your scouting network comes in. This is where your recruitment comes in and your recruitment strategies. You can recruit well and not be in the Champions League. I mean, look at Liverpool. They're an example of it. Liverpool in the Europa League this year, but their recruitment in the summer, you've got to look at it and think it was brilliant. They backed out the Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham's doing brilliantly at Real Madrid, one of the best players, for me, best player in the world probably right now. And then they were going to spend that money on Caicedo. Caicedo chose to go to Chelsea, probably the best thing that ever happened to Liverpool. They went and kind of spent on McAllister. Well, they'd already spent on McAllister. They got Endo in, the Slobberslide. They completely rebuilt that midfield. And they're doing really well this season. They were in the Europa League. They still attracted the players, so that you can do it. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp's a huge pull. Erik Ten Hag hasn't got the pull that Jurgen Klopp has, but with good recruitment, you can do it. And I was looking at Liverpool's transfer window thinking, you know, I don't think that's good enough. And that just kind of shows the peaks and troughs, really, and shows that you need proper footballing experts in charge of these situations. I'll admit, I'm not a footballing expert. I'm a fan. I have my opinions. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Of course I am. But you can still attract players and not be in the Champions League. But it is huge when you're competing, especially when you're at Man United, where we've got the difference between Man United and Liverpool is Liverpool have consistently been winning. They have Jurgen Klopp. Well, they're not going to, but they had Jurgen Klopp. They had world-class players that you knew that you were coming to play with. You look at Man United, we're on a downward spiral. Ten Hag's not as well-renowned as Jurgen Klopp in the footballing world. He's still a respected manager, but not as well-renowned. And I think the main factor that would probably put players off is we're renowned career killers. Most players that are on an upwards trajectory come to Man United and their careers fall off a cliff. Why would you want to take that risk if you weren't like a United fan or die-hard United? I don't think you would you? So you've got to hope United still have that pulling power, and we've got a really good recruitment team that are able to get good deals over the line for them. But it's going to be tough without the Champions League, but I don't think we will be in it. But the FA Cup, I think for Ten Hag to kind of really be secure going into next season, he needs to win it. I don't think we will, but I think he needs to. And he massively needs to turn things around in the second half of the season. And I'm not just talking about results. It is a results-based industry, of course it is. And you want to see us get some points on the board. But I'm talking about an actual style of play and actual performances, back-to-back performances, because we haven't been seeing it at all. Sherlock Holmes says, if Mbappe goes to Madrid, Vinny will likely be available in the summer. United should save budget to get him and go for short-term fixes. Vinicius Jr. is absolutely unbelievable, but honestly, there's like a 0.5% chance of United getting Vinicius Jr. It's just, I'm not even going to talk about it because it's just crazy talk. Thank you for your super chat, but it's just crazy talk. It's like, you know, it's like me going out and saying, you know, tomorrow I'm magically going to find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and buy myself, you know, my dream car. I mean, I hope it happens, but there's like a 0.5% chance, probably less, that it will. Vinicius Jr. isn't leaving Madrid, and he's not coming to Man United if he does. I tell you that for free. Anyway, so he moves on. He gets asked about Klopp again. And they asked him, like, can you understand? Like, because Jurgen Klopp's reason for leaving Liverpool is he said he's just run out of energy. You know, 9 years. He says at the moment he doesn't think he'll ever manage again, and that could change because he's obviously never been in this position before. But he says one thing that will never happen is he will never, ever manage in England again, unless it would be Liverpool. So he says he doesn't think he will manage again, and he says he's just run out of energy. And, you know, the energy that Klopp gives, you can kind of see it. It kind of runs throughout him. And now when you look back at this season, he has seemed a lot more spiky. He seemed a lot more frustrated. We've seen him sometimes snap back on these interviews about timings and schedulings. And a lot of people call him a moaner, don't they? And he has kind of... He's not lost his spark because he's an unbelievable manager, and he still is. And he's having such a great season with Liverpool. But you can see that kind of... He's got a bit more of a snappiness to him, I would say. But he says he's just run out of energy, and they asked Ten Hag if he can relate to that. And he said, it's the truth. Oh, no, that's the wrong quote. I'm looking at the wrong quote. So Ten Hag said, and if you can understand that where Jurgen Klopp's coming from, he says, I can understand that. 9 years is a long time. I think it's a period by building, achieving targets, but also I think setbacks are going to be difficult periods. The Premier League is very intense. The combination with European football when you're there 9 years is a long period, and I can understand he's running out of energy. And that is one of his arguments to step down. So Ten Hag, when I was watching the presser and kind of watching his body language and the way he spoke, he did seem very understanding of Jurgen Klopp's reasoning. And people, Man United fans will say, you know, we only won one COVID Premier League title. And as United fans, you know, we're always going to try and put down Liverpool. And Jurgen Klopp has always bugged me because he's so cocky, so confident, and he's a brilliant manager. He oozes character. And he's a character that you'd love to be managing your football club unless it's your arch rivals, which is it's so frustrating that he went to Liverpool, because then it makes me have a real passion for not liking him when I watch Liverpool. Nothing personal, I just don't like it because he's made them successful. And the energy that it does take, at the end of the day, he's won every trophy you can win. And he's been very successful. And I think the one thing that we can say is brilliant for Manchester United that he's leaving. It's an advantage to us because I don't think Liverpool can get anyone in that's as good as Jurgen Klopp, unless they went and got Pep, which isn't going to happen. So I think it's a big win for Manchester United. Xavi Alonso's a good manager that's doing well at Leverkusen, but he doesn't come in and instantly replace Klopp. I'd be very, very, very shocked if that did happen. I think Liverpool are about to experience the fraction, like a very small fraction of what Man United experienced when Fergie left. Because we didn't know what was about to hit us. Maybe Liverpool have learnt from where Manchester United went wrong. And obviously the Glazers aren't FSG, and I'm not as kind of aware as Liverpool's ownership situations as I am with Manchester United, so I can't comment massively on it. I know a lot of Liverpool fans want FSG out. But it'll be interesting to see the way Liverpool handle it, because they're not only losing Klopp, they're losing all of his coaching staff and the director as well. So there's going to be shifts in the Premier League. There's going to be big shifts in the Premier League. I hope they don't win the Prem. I just really hope they don't win it. I don't want them to go out on a Premier League title, and that might make me sound bitter, but it's just me being the United fan inside of me. He then speaks about INEOS. Obviously, INEOS and Sir Jim. We've heard from so many people in and around the club, and whenever I say this, people always say, "You've not heard anything." I'm like, okay, think what you want. I'm not a liar. I'm not going to sit here and say something that's not true, but okay, you say what you want. But we've heard a lot from kind of in and around the club that INEOS and Sir Jim has come in and massively lifted things. I think a lot of departments are more on edge now and wanting to raise the standards because they don't want to get sacked and they don't want to get moved out. They are going to be cutting staff down and they are going to be replacing people that aren't good enough. We've already seen that start to happen. People don't want themselves to be on the chopping block. So that shouldn't be happening. At Manchester United, the level should always be raising every single day. But there's a sense of comfortability around the club. This is why we've not been good enough for years. It's not just on the manager. We know behind the scenes at Manchester United, the standards have not been high enough. That's not breaking news. We've known that for a long time. But in terms of what INEOS is going to bring to Manchester United with raising the standards and what they're going to do behind the scenes, Erik Ten Hag did get asked about that in his press conference, and he speaks about it and he says that INEOS have given a spirit to this whole club. Everybody notices this club is going into a period of changes, and it's because we want to achieve high targets, standards, and we have to change. We started with this 1.5 years ago. So Ten Hag is kind of talking in the process, and he's saying there that he started this process when he came in a 1.5 years ago. He's basically saying, I've said since I walked through these doors, things have to change behind the scenes. And whatever you might think of Erik Ten Hag as a manager, because you can speak about his tactics, you can speak about if he's good enough to lead Manchester United and be the head of Manchester United as a manager, and if his manager skills are good enough. But you can say what you want, but he absolutely noticed that the culture was wrong when he walked through this football club. He's been trying to change it. He's been trying to set standards behind the scenes. He's absolutely been doing that, and he's not shied away of saying that. When he first came into the football club, I think obviously some of his press conferences this season I feel like have changed and have gone very, United-ified. But when he first walked in, it generally was like a breath of fresh air. The way he was speaking about the culture needs to change, eras come to an end, behind the scenes, standards, planning everything out in the pre-season down to the drinks breaks, wanting to involve different factors behind the scenes that we've not had before, changing the dugouts, like loads of things he identified that needs to change. But so he's saying he started that a 1.5 years ago, but one man can't walk into a football club and do everything. It can never happen. That's like Omar Barada can't walk into a football club and change everything. Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't walk into the football club and just him on his own change everything. In football, it's never a one-man job. It's like when people say, oh, we've got Omar Barada, we're back, Manchester City are in the mud, we're back, we've got Omar Barada. Omar Barada's an incredible appointment. But it doesn't mean anything if you don't go and back it up with a head of recruitment, a sporting director and a brilliant team around him. It's about a team effort. So if you have a manager that wants things to change in Erik Ten Hag, if you have owners that want things to change in the sense of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and obviously his board of directors in Claude Blanc, in Sir Dave Brailsford, you then have the likes of Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell doing the recruitment side of things. Then you look at it and think, this is a change. This is a culture change. The whole club is changing. This is where we're setting the standards and going in the right direction, taking the medical department apart and getting rid of people who have stagnated in their job and not providing anything and not at the level we need. That's when you see change. It's not a one-man appointment. Erik Ten Hag was never going to change his football club all by himself. It was never going to happen, and this is why it frustrates me. You can have your opinions on whether Ten Hag's a good enough manager, of course you can. I understand people that don't think he is because of his style of play and his substitutions and his in-game management. I get that. But people that genuinely think that one manager coming in is going to change the whole football club, honestly, it burns my head off, because I'm like, how can you think that way? Man United have been terribly run for years. Behind the scenes, it's been terribly run for years. One man won't change anything. And that's why I'm so glad that Sir Jim and Sir Dave Brailsford have come in and we're changing the team around it, because everything needs to be pulling in the same direction together. So again, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but he also says that he's sure that INEOS and himself are very aligned on this. We understand what we have to change. We started that process last season with the dressing room, but also many departments. I am very happy to raise the standards, to collaborate more, and INEOS can have a big impact on that. Again, Ten Hag was very adamant and very vocal in the fact that every department standards need to raise. And that's no secret. We know that. It's not a one-man job. Everything needs to change. The medical department, the recruitment department, you know, everything has a contributing factor to this club's success. Everything needs to be pulling in the same direction. And that's where other clubs have been super successful. You look at the likes of Man City, the reason why they're so successful, of course, Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world, in my opinion. And that is obviously a massive advantage point. But not only that, they've got a sporting director that works brilliantly in cohesion with him. They had Omar Barada, their head of football operations, that was doing a brilliant job for them. Their youth academy, the women's team, everything was pulling in the same direction with staff behind the scenes, and that's absolutely huge. And Manchester United need that. Manchester United need that. We also probably need everyone can go apart from CAF. Let's put it out there. I mean, I'm joking, obviously. I don't want people to lose their jobs, and people need to step up and be good enough. And if you're at the standard, you should stay, but if you're not, you should go. And I think the cooking department there, the chefing department needs an inspection, because, the chicken job needs to be looked at. Maybe they'll get given another chance. But that was Erik Ten Hag's press conference about Newport County, and it honestly just feels good that football is back. Like, it just feels good that Manchester United are playing football again. I saw so many people last weekend saying, Man United haven't managed to ruin my weekend. And I get that. I absolutely get that, because, you don't have any stresses when Man United are playing. But I was thinking about it last week and I was like, this is boring. And this is why, obviously, we're all Man United fans. And this is why football fans, it's loyalty. Because no matter how bad Man United are, I'm always going to tune in. I'm always going to look forward to watching them. I'm always going to be hoping for the best. And that's just what being a fan is. And even though we've been so poor this season, I'm excited and I have some sort of glimmer of hope. It's the hope that kills you. It's like, do you know when they say, I mean, this is such a poor comparison, but when you say, oh no, I can't compare that. I don't think I can do that comparison. But anyway, I'm excited to be hurt again, is what I would say. And it's crazy that at the time you get stung and you're like, oh, God, I can't stand this, I can't stand that. You get so irate, and then weeks go by and you're like, oh, but maybe we could do this. Maybe we will do this. Oh, I'm excited to watch the team again. That's what it does to us. It's the hope that kills you. It's the hope that kills you. But look, everyone, thank you so much for watching the show. I really have appreciated it. The comparison that I was going to make was, it's like when they say when a woman gives birth, they don't remember the pain the way it was. Obviously, it's a painful experience giving birth. But the reason why women want to have more kids after that is because the body kind of forgets about the pain, because obviously it's a beautiful thing, like having children. It's like with Man United, it's like I forget the pain as time goes on, and then I kind of want to watch it again. And it's one of them situations. I want to go through it again, because it's a weird situation. But anyway, thank you everyone for tuning into the show. That took a weird turn. Make sure you hit a like on the video if you're excited for Man United to be back, and you're excited for us to, the FA Cup's the only thing we've really got a chance of winning a trophy, and let's hope that we can get as far as we can in this competition. And I want us to win it. I really want us to win it. Spurs have got Man City. Man City have never scored a goal at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Never mind win a game. If anyone can get City out of the competition, it's Spurs, it's Ange Ball. I'll be rooting for Spurs. And I'm not saying it in a way that I don't think Spurs could batter us and beat us in the FA Cup, because they absolutely could. But I think the only team on our day that I genuinely would, every single time, I don't think we've got a single chance against, apart from like 0.005, would be City. I think City beat us every time in the FA Cup, every time. But I think every other team, if we turn up, we have a chance. So I want City to go out. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Really love the show with you all. Have a lovely weekend. It is a Friday. Whatever you're doing with your weekend, enjoy it. Have a very good Friday night. I love you and leave you, and stay tuned for the 8 p.m. show later. I'm sure it will be a cracker. But thank you, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.